A pleasant good evening again to everyone. We want to welcome you to MLC Talk. That's my Lutheran Connections program. Today is the last Sunday, happen to be the last day of the year 2023, and this happens to be our segment, the Bishop's Hour. Today we are going to be hosting the Reverend J. Louis G. McCay. Reverend Louis McCay, as we all know, is the assistant to the bishop of the Lutheran Church in Liberia. The bishop is not in Liberia currently, so Reverend McCay have been asked to represent the bishop on the show today. But while we are with Reverend McCay, Elijah, how are you doing today? Some part of the world have already started experiencing the new year, so I don't know if it would be a mistake to say Happy New Year or, but how are you doing today? How's the family?
I'm doing okay with it. Like you regularly said, some part of the world, um, they are now like in the new year. But those of us in North America, we still got a few more hours to go to get into the new year. I know pretty soon Liberia, they will be in the new year. But 2023 has been a year, um, full of different things for different people, and which of course we're going to talk about some here tonight. But on the overall, we want to give God the glory that we are still sitting up, we are still breathing. It is not easy to be breathing from 2020 from 20 from the beginning of January to the end of the year, and you still got your health and everything else. It's just something that we have to appreciate God for and just say thank you to Him for it. And I'm happy that uh, we are here today.
Yeah, absolutely. It is something that we have to be really, really appreciative for. Like you've mentioned, the year 2023 is another year that will go down history, especially for our beloved country, Liberia. Um,
Yeah.
and we will be talking about some of those things and some of the efforts that people are trying to rally together to help you know the surviving victims, and like every one of us are victimized by it. Our church plays a key role in that part of Liberia as well. When it comes to the spiritual aspect, talking about the Total mission, the Lutheran Total campus, and
Hmm.
also talking about the Phoebe Hospital, our healing
Yeah.
ministry. So
Yeah.
it's a whole lot. Yeah. Mhm.
That's a whole lot. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but we are
And,
very
and
hopeful that yeah. Go ahead, Elijah. Go ahead.
yeah, while we wait for Reverend Market to join us on this, maybe we just talk about total tie, the situation in total tie. And like for me, well, this is like it hit really close to home because like Totota is like my hometown. Um, I went to middle school in Totota and live in Totota when my dad was the director for the Lake Training Center. So we live in Totota for a very long time. So that's my hometown. And you know how the community is so much integrated, like everybody know everybody, and then and the entire so Totota is mourning, Liberia is mourning, the entire nation is mourning right now, and a situation that would have been, prevented if we had the capacity, we had the kind of education that our people need, and to be aware of the kind of disaster or the hazardous environment that they were venturing in. But again, we can't blame them because the ignorant, and people saw this as an opportunity because this is a fuel tanker. It fell down, and then the fuel is leaking. Others want to take advantage of that. They don't want that to be wasted. They want to take advantage of the situation. And then there were others who just went to look, and say, "Oh, this is something happening. I just going to stand by and look and see what's happening." But not taking into consideration how flammable that could be, and how disaster that could be when that bursts into flame. And as that journalist, not, I don't, he was just a regular Facebooker who would just go in live and then calling on authority to say, "Hey, I think somebody need to come here and take the people from here." And our security apparatus being so much underfunded and then not fully equipped to kind of manage situation like this, we even find first responders were even getting burned as well because the training is not there. It was just disastrous for the community, and right now the entire community is mourning. I think the president elect, Joseph Boakai, he visited Toyota today, visiting the site where the incident happened. And we know, like I personally know some people who lost their lives and families that are affected, with this thing. So it's just like close to home for me, especially with the connection with the families that lost their loved ones, like the Buguyu, the Nutas, and the rest of them, just to name a few. That is so close to home. But we continue to pray for the families and for the victims to recover. This is a long recovery process for them because it's not easy. Especially like you burn above 3 degree, like you are like 4 degrees burn, 5 degrees burn, like people are literally like struggling for their lives right now in various hospitals in Liberia. And all we can do now as citizens is just to pray for the victims, pray for the families, and as much as we can do and contribute in whatever way we can do it, to just help them. I know there's been a wave of different fundraiser going on right now. The United Bone Content Association in Marrakesh that I'm a part of, we are in the process too of raising money to help, to just contribute towards the process. So that is ongoing, and there are other groups around Citizen of Totota and other places, like. And one of the things that this has done to our country and our community is that it has brought, the community together, and you can see the solidarity of the people of Liberia, not only the citizens of Liberia, but you see solidarity between citizens of Liberia, like from different places coming down to Toyota just to identify with the community. Like I was watching the video with the president elect in Toyota, and you can see the cross generation of people of diverse backgrounds from different counties, from the legislative caucus, from different legislative caucuses around the country. They all came along in Toyota, identifying with Honorable Mema Breeze and the rest of the legislative caucus of Bone County. Like they have been like just working and being supportive in the whole process just to bring some consolation to the bereaved family, and just letting the community know that, hey, we are here and we are not letting you go through this alone. This is a national issue and we have to hold together. And I think that has really brought the community together, the way in which people that responded, the way people that supporting this process, even though we cannot bring back the lives of those that have lost their lives, but with the concern, with the solidarity, in putting together resources to help those who are in the hospital and also identify with the family. It's just remarkable, and that's something that we have to acknowledge. And going forward, I think this is a learning process. This I taught the community a really tough lesson, that in the future people would know that if such a thing happened, nobody should be moving on the site because the environment is dangerous. You could lose your life in going in an environment like that. But we will continue to pray for them, as we move along.
Sure, sure, absolutely, Elijah. As you were talking about the fact that where this accident occurred, and we've listened to several stories, okay, and how the accident took place, and though the tanker fell in the town of Turuta, People were going there. Some people were just bystanders. Some people were, going there to see, okay, this is leaking. But I'll tell you this, right? The company, for me, this is how I look at it. Okay, those who went there, and you know, um, peace be unto their soul, that this tragedy occurred, and they did not survive, and some of them are still in the hospital. I think the company that hired this trucker should be held liable. And the reason why I say this, if you take just quite recently in Ohio, there was this train wreck, and there was some spill of, I think it was a gas or some oil that spilled, and it had a huge impact in this town. Okay, and I think the train company is CXR, the CSR or CRX. Okay, they were made to clean out the spill and pay good sum of money to the people of that town, because number one, the point in the town did not cause the accident. They did not spill gasoline in their town. Okay, and this guy, from some stories that he was overtaken, and we know how our roads in Liberia are very narrow. He was overtaken, and that's how his tanker, fell over. So, but again, like you said, this cannot bring back the lives of our people. We are just coming in from the perspective of our church, and considering the role that our church plays in this area of Liberia, this part of Liberia, Tututa. And we are hopeful that uh, our even our bishop, where he is right now, bishop is not in Liberia. We are hopeful that he can join us from where he is out of the country, and we are so hopeful that the bishop assistant, Reverend McCay, will try to join us quickly, and tell us what is the church doing, because we know that even during the time of the war and some other, like during the time of COVID or Ebola, the role our church played, and I mean, and considering now the fact that it is happening right at home, like you said, it is happening very, very at home, not even close to home, but it is happening at home. What is our church? What is the effort of our church? What is our church doing?
Yeah.
This is happening at home. Totota is our home, is the LCL's home. Totota. So we want to know what the church is doing. And there are some other developments also, Elijah, that
Yeah.
since the last time our bishop was here and spoke on the bishop's hour, there are some other developments that have taken place. Demolition going on the LCL compound. The LTI project, and yeah, I understand there was some progress made on LTI. We want to know all of that. What have been the progress made on the orange seeding, the orange farm, the orange project? We also want to get information on that. We also want to know what the church, what are some of the plans the church has, going forward to 2024? What are some of the things that we're trying to put in place? And like you spoke the last time, you said that, and we want to know that what happened, to the case of our two brothers, though they fell short, but they are still our brothers. They are still our brothers in the church. We want to know what's the status of that case. We want to know all of that. There are so many things that when the bishop assistant, the Reverend Louis McCay, and he being BA, I believe that he has a lot of information, whole lot of information to unfold this evening. So folks, again, you are tuned into MLC Talk. This is a production of the Malnutrition Connections. Today we are very hopeful that the Reverend J. Louis McCay will be appearing on our show today. But Elijah, that's the situation right now.
No, I agree with you. And just to go back to what you were saying about the liability issue, about
Yeah,
the situation in Totota, I'm sure that there will be some liability
yeah,
on
yeah.
the company um, that owns the tanker that fell.
Mhm.
Um, especially with the disaster, with the spilling of fuel and everything in the community. That should be some liability for them to
Oh yeah.
bear and pay to the community.
Hmm.
But and when you listen to some of the stories, I think even the cause of the accident, I think it was some form of a road rage.
Yeah,
There was
yeah. That's what I
some,
heard. That's what I heard.
yeah,
Road rage. Yeah. He was
there
trying
was
to
some, yeah,
overtake.
yeah, it was a road rage and stuff
Hmm.
that caused him to drop in the little dish.
Hmm.
But also, like for me right now, it's not about who's responsible. Like the president-elect said today that there will be an investigation to establish the cause
Hmm.
and of the accident and who's responsible and what have you. Because there are a lot of things we have to take into consideration here, because even if we start to shift blames on who is responsible and what happened, like I said earlier, this is something that could have been preventable if our police, our national police, they were very much equipped to the capacity where they're able to prevent people from getting to this place, barricading the place, and keeping citizens away from that environment. It would have helped at least. Maybe people would have died, but it wouldn't be the number that we are seeing today, at least. But because our police did not well trained to manage crisis like this, and then because of poverty and other stuff,
Yeah.
ignorant coupled with that, so people went on the scene and tried to take advantage of the availability of a few that literally would have been wasted, and
Hmm.
in order to have some for themselves, they took advantage of the situation, but then it became a disaster. So right now is about, my focus is just about how we can, the recovery process of the bereaved family and those who are in the hospital, struggling for their lives, and how we can help. You know, and you made mention of the church's own role in the whole process. You know, Phoebe Hospital was like the number one hospital that all of these patients were all rushed to when the incident happened. And this is one of the things that I always talk about. When this government came into place, and even past government, they have made Phoebe Hospital look like it is privately owned, and for that reason, Phoebe has been underfunded. And then and Phoebe is strategically located to cater to the situation like this. So it was the nearest hospital that people could run to with these victims. But then Phoebe was not up to date, was not capacitated in order to handle these cases. Now you have to have ambulances coming from Nema, coming from Monrovia, and other places to come to Phoebe, and then before taking these patients to various hospitals around the country. So just imagine the number of trauma and pain that these victims are already going through. Just think about the burn one, and think about transporting people in bulk in vehicles that are not medically equipped to be treated them on the way until they get to the hospital. Just think about that. And then thinking about the distance, the covering before getting to the hospital. So it was pain upon pain for these victims. That's why you, like, some of them are losing their lives because they endure more pains en route to the hospital than even the pain of the fire and stuff like that. But it's not about time to shift blame and say, hey, this is that. But all I can say is that our incoming leadership, they should take clue from this situation, and then there should be a need for vigorous public awareness, public education around some of these things. Sometimes when disaster happen or accident happen, because of poverty, our people take advantage of the situation and put themselves in harm's way. And there's a need for vigorous public education. Nobody's saying you can't go on the scene to go and help, but if you think helping will put your life in danger, wait for the trained personnel. Call on authority, the people who are trained to do the rescue, to get on the scene, because you can be helping and put yourself in harm's way. And that's what we see happening
So,
in Toronto today. Some of the first responders that got on the scene, they too got burned because they
mhm.
were trying to help, but they were not trained enough to rescue people from fire like that. You don't have equipment to start quenching that fire. And you could see how vigorous that fire was. It's not something that you could even put water on. It's not a fire that you can cut off with water. So it
Exactly.
had to burn down until it subsided by itself. You know, so there's a need for public health awareness and safety, like it is done here. You know, like every person in this country, if you went to a working place that has to do with people lives and stuff that you got to do, learn how to do CPR and other safety measures,
Mhm.
that you know how to respond as a first responder until the EMS can arrive, and then you turn it over to them. So we have to start looking into those kind of direction to start educating our people, so when these things happen.
Sure, Elijah. I do agree with you, my brother, that there need to be awareness, like public education on crisis like these. But I would tell you, but I would say this, and I know we're not kind of shifting the blame or so, but I would tell you this, that had the had the onlookers been to this scene or not, the blaze will still have occurred, because you are looking at you are looking at a tanker truck that turned over, and the gas, the engine, okay, fire spark from the engine, because when the tanker trucks flip over, the gas was leaking out, went to the engine where the gas shouldn't be, and that's where the fire got cut off from. And gas fire, even kerosene fire, once it starts, it goes right back to the source, and that's what happened. That's how the bliss came about. So again, that our people, like the incoming administration, again, like you said, the incoming administration needs to take clue from this. Okay, just invest, even if it will take a year to invest into our health sector. Okay, to just invest. Look, I will say this, that I think it was back in 2003. I think it was in 2003 or 2004. Uh, we behind Cottington, when we went to identify with the former director Robert Gono. On our way back, the late brother Solon, peace be unto his soul, we were all on this vehicle on the NLYF Land Cruiser, and this car flipped over. Which hospital did it take us to? Phoebe Hospital. So if the if the administration, or if the government keep treating Phoebe as such, and Phoebe is catering to the community, then Phoebe will have no other alternative but to behave like a private institution. And a private institution in Liberia is very costly,
And,
and yet
and with And with it to that point, it is very hard right now for Phoebe to function as a private hospital, because
exactly.
the people of Bond County, they are used to Phoebe provided free health services to them, especially the people who come from the surrounding villages.
Mhm.
The manner and form in which the hospital was founded
Right.
was like
Mhm.
from the onset, they were providing free treatments for the people. Like
Mhm.
even during the Civil War,
Right.
Phoebe was the only referral hospital in Bond County that all these wounded soldiers and other people who were kind of like wounded during the war was
Mhm.
taken. And
Taken to, right.
Phoebe was very strategic for the
Mhm.
during the war up to the time the massacre took place at Phoebe, and
Mhm.
then the hospital moved to Toraka, where Dada Gonangada, Dada Flomo, these men they were still working, but in Toraka on the mission, like they were still performing surgery on lanterns and canal lights,
Mhm.
saving lives. So
Right.
there's a long history of Phoebe in Liberia. So
Right.
any government coming into power and not taking into consideration the immense contribution of this institution and thereby underfunding it, you are not affecting the institution directly alone, but
Mhm.
you are affecting the entire community that depends upon this institution.
Right.
Because if Phoebe is underfunded, people will come to Phoebe, they will not get the medical treatment they need. Now, at the end of the day, they will be going home hopeless because there's
Right.
no medication, and
Mhm.
the administrators there they can produce medication by themselves. So they
No.
have to have the money to have the kind of equipments they need to provide the kind of medical services they need. So The incoming government needs to look into that. You have CB Doma in Banga, you got Phoebe.
Mhm.
These are two hospitals, major hospital within the entire county. You have to bring them up to speed, up to date, equip them, because you never know when disaster happen. Like,
Mhm.
look at what happened. At the
Right.
end of the day, right now, like Phoebe could not host the number of people that were rushing there that night. Now they
Right.
have to start taking people to maneuver, taking people other places just to accommodate the victims.
Mm.
It,
Yeah.
it is serious,
It is.
even though
It
we are
is.
talking church, 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 but sometimes our own church members that are within politics, they bring about these things upon the institution.
No,
And yeah,
absolutely.
no,
Yeah, and I will agree with you, brother Elijah. Sorry to cut you off. Some of our church leaders, some of our church leaders are in government. Okay, they are holding high position. They are even in the legislature where the budget, is passed. Okay, I think it behooves them that in these considering their position in government, they should be able to advocate not only for Phoebe Hospital but CHM or all other health institutions in the country. you know but keep doing business as usual. At the end of the day, see the situation now that is happening. I saw our senior sister on the phone, calling for help, and she was not only calling for help from Liberia, but and this is the honest truth. She was also telling the government, seek help from your neighbors. Seek help from Ghana, seek help from Cote d'Ivoire, seek help from Guinea.
mm-hmm,
So they'll come to the country and help, because you cannot. I mean, Liberia is not equipped for such a tragedy that kind of occurred. Liberia needs help, outside help, to come in and help. And strengthen our capacity in terms of situation like these.
yeah,
And I saw a post. Quickly, I saw a post from what's his name, the former President Emeritus of the National Lutheran Youth Fellowship, brother
honestly, yeah,
Anderson. I saw brother Anderson, and
he
and, and
also lost four
me.
members of his family.
Yeah. Oh, that was member of his family, right?
Four members of his family, yeah,
Four members of his family. And he said that the last, our last hope is gone. You
yeah,
know, four members, and then having two. It's just so sad. It's actually so sad that our people can go through such a situation like this, and find themselves, you know, um, bearing so much pain. Family members and likewise the victims. But again, like you've mentioned earlier, the incoming government needs to see reason, and not to do business as usual. Seek, if it means that suspend all road projects and everything and focus on the healthcare sector, focus on the healthcare sector. And somebody was going live, I think was the representative, one of the representatives, I think you mentioned her name. What's her name?
Mema Breeze.
Remember Breeze was saying, she said, "Oh, I mean," and I would say this in a Liberian way too, just as she said it. She said, "Oh, y'all, thank you, oh, y'all, thank you." She said, "Hey, y'all provide support for our nurses here, provide support for our doctors. They want to do it, but they don't have the support. Help them." You want to tell me, if you're paying these people like $250 or paying them $300, $400 a month and providing all of the necessary logistics, they won't be able to do. They won't be able to do it. But you cannot. I mean, even the $150 is not forthcoming. And somebody going to say, "Oh, if you put them in the hospital, there's no. Oh, okay, good, wonderful, ladies, folks who want to say you are in tune to MLC Talk. Today we have with us the Reverend J. Louis G. McCay. He is the assistant to the Bishop of the Lutheran Church in Liberia. Reverend McCay will be joining us very shortly. Today's show is coming to you by the Lutheran Connections, my MLC, my Lutheran Connections. Uh, and today, our brother Elijah Zena and myself hosting. And pretty shortly, we will be having the Reverend McCay, who is just in the back end and trying to get himself situated. And we will have him on the show. And we want to thank God that, Reverend McCay is here today. We're just going to screen, keep your comments coming in. Please keep your comments coming in. And we want to say, Sis Marlon Mulva, we want to say thank you for following. Brother Sonny George, Sonny Uh, what's the middle name that your namesake, Elijah?
Son of Josh.
No, you
Son of
said
our lion, Josh.
I would lie to. I don't want to mention my name for the man can charge me to the last. If I say, can you
Yeah,
imagine how the clinic in Total, the site of the incident, has been over the years, and no attention has been given to the clinic since it was. Yeah, I mean the
that's
clinic,
true.
the hospital. There's no care to the hospital, not to mention the clinic.
Yeah.
Reverend McCay, if you're following us, we just want you to kind of adjust your camera just a little bit, then we can bring you on. There we go. All right, folks. We want to welcome the Reverend J. Louis McCay. Reverend McCay is here with us today. Reverend McCay, we want to say welcome. Um, you know, and on behalf of the network, we want to extend our deepest condolences to our church, since you are here representing our church, the Lutheran Church in Liberia. We want to say welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me.
Okay, wonderful. So quickly, time is fast spent. I will go to my brother Elijah. Elijah Zina will start with the round of questioning. He will go with 2 questions, and then I will follow also with 2 questions. We will also be taking some questions from our viewers. Okay, they have questions coming in, and we'll be asking those. We'll be reading out those questions as they come in. So, brother Elijah, you can go ahead.
I want to say welcome to you, Reverend McCay, and thank you for squeezing in between your busy schedule to make yourself available for the conversation tonight. Um, just to start off very quickly here, Reverend, if you are hearing me, um, I know the Lutheran Church in Liberia, we want to start. There are a lot of things we're going to talk about, but I just want you to give us an eyewitness point of view of the situation in Totota and the role the church has been playing since the incident happened in Totota.
Thank you for your concern. The church is concerned. Right after the incident went viral on social media, we placed a call to Reverend Romeo Moma to give us an eyewitness account of what had happened in Tudota. And he explained to us that a tanker fell and certain group of individuals ran there and tried to fetch petrol. Unfortunately, the tanker exploded, leading to death of so many persons. At the time, the bishop was out of the country. He was in Senegal attending a lukewarm meeting. We immediately placed a call to him, and he acknowledged that he had seen the photo on the social media. And relative to what has the church done, we were at ELWA hospital last night from Bapulu, where we cut short our visit to play what we call a ministry of presence, and saw a devastating scene, burned human beings of different degrees. And while I was talking to a lady, one Fatu, wailing sound was coming from another room where I went and saw a gentleman had just given up the ghost. This morning, Bishop Patmo went to Turota to have service with the people to assure them of the church's concern and of his compassion, and is with them in the situation. We have also made contacts with Reverend Jesse G.S. King, who is a Luther scholar studying at St. Paul's University in Nairobi, who has contacted his people in the U.S., his church, and they have expressed concern to make some interventions and ask for the church's bank account, which we'll be working on hopefully tomorrow, and get a meal to them. As you know, Reverend King is from Toyota and went to school in the U.S. And of course, people he personally reared also have been affected. His family is there, but some of the guys he reared have been seriously affected. So he has also contacted us, and we are totally working together to ensure that we meet. Bishop Patmo has called an emergency meeting of the staff on Tuesday. So the church is very concerned and takes this tragedy very seriously.
Thank you, Reverend. What does it mean for the church, especially Phoebe Hospital, What can you say needs to be done at Phoebe Hospital given the underfunding that Phoebe is receiving right now? What can you say to that?
I'd like to just thank God for the stand that Bishop Padmore took when he was acting administrator at the hospital. He had to fight the politicians who tried to close down Phoebe Hospital by taking doctors away. And by his resilience to introduce a drug revolving system, the hospital is alive. We're thankful. As you know, Samuel Tuer, the Minister of Finance, had accident and he was treated at that hospital. One would imagine if the hospital had not given him first-hand treatment after he and his wife were involved in an accident, what would have happened to them? So Phoebe is overwhelmed, and by the assistance of the church, the assistance the church is rendering to Liberian government, it should be understood that the government's responsibility is to provide health services to its citizens. But the church has come in to assist in line with the mission of the church in teaching, preaching, and healing. So the church is doing extremely well. The doctor is overwhelmed, the hospital is overwhelmed. That is why some of the patients had to be brought to Monrovia because Phoebe doesn't have the facility. And so relative to underfunding, this is where all of us as Lutherans at home and abroad have to speak to the government of Liberia to apoliticize medicine. When it comes to health, it shouldn't be politicized. It is the responsibility of the government to fund all of its health institutions, including private and public. And so to politicize it will mean that we have to agree with the political philosophy of a particular political party so that when they come to power, they can fund the hospital, which is completely wrong and is saddened, so that when these kinds of disasters occur, then you don't have medical facilities, you don't have doctors. Even if you have the doctors, they won't be able to cater to the needs of the people simply because you politicize the process. So again, I'd like to say thank God that Bishop Patmore, before he became bishop as acting administrator, had seen this kind of thing coming and he stood his ground. And today we can even say, thank God we have Phoebe working and providing health services to the people of Bone County, now overwhelmed by the gas explosion and subsequent destruction of lives and properties, that even had to help Samuel Tuer himself to give him first aid before he was flown out of the country for medical treatment.
Yeah, Reverend, thank you so much for providing that information. I just want to pick back from Brother Elijah that do we know as of now the total number of people directly impacted by this fire disaster from our church in specifically in Tututa?
We have not arrived at that conclusion because it will require first and foremost getting medical statistics in terms of contacting medical doctors in Phoebe, contacting medical doctors wherever some of these patients have been transferred, and then getting to know their denominational attachments. So no, we don't have the total number of persons as it relates to or how many Lutherans were involved. However, as an ecumenical body, the church sees the church's concern goes beyond denominations, and we are concerned about lives, whether Christians, whether Muslims, whether non-Christians, lives have been lost, and we are very concerned as a church about this, and we are doing all we can to first mobilize the necessary resources to intervene. And the way to do that is first do a ministry of presence, which Bishop Padmore has started doing today by going up country to have a first-hand eyewitness account from the people who were there, hearing from the people who were eyewitnesses. And not only that, but also calling a meeting on Tuesday so that the staff will take a necessary approach to identifying the number of persons, including non-Lutherans, who were affected, so that we inform our SOS appeal to our partners and other local NGOs.
Thank you very much, Reverend. I want to pick back. You spoke earlier and you talked about how the current finance minister he received, a initial care when he is, when he had an accident. Okay, he received initial care at Phoebe, and had it not been that initial care from Phoebe, I mean, the chances of transferring him, out of the country, would have been, slim to none. But what do you say to our um, specifically Lutheran legislatures that are in the House, the upper and lower house, where the budget is passed and Phoebe is underfunded? What do we say to those that are in Parliament, especially the Lutherans that are in Parliament?
This is a very important question and raises the question of a Christian worldview, and that relates to the question: how and why am I a Lutheran lawmaker? Why did I why did Jesus die for me? Why did I subscribe to sola fide, sola gratias, and sola Christus? Why do I believe in justification by faith alone? And now I have become a member of the national legislature. Why am I there? What kind of laws am I going to make to affect the health needs of the people of this country, including Lutherans? So that is a very critical question, and that begs the question of what my motive is when I become a lawmaker, a Lutheran Christian. I am a beneficiary, for example, of the missionaries' work of the gospel in Liberia. Now I have been educated. I found myself as a lawmaker. I would imagine that we will lobby with our colleagues so that the budget we pass will give a larger sum to the health facilities of the country, not only Lutherans, because, like for instance, we don't have a Lutheran hospital in Bapolo. During the Ebola, the church lobbied for resources, medical resources that went to Bapolo because it believed and still believes in meeting the health needs of all of the people. So the lawmakers who go to the legislature from Lutheran perspective have to see a moral and spiritual responsibility to the church to ensure that the partners' work that brought us this far will be consolidated, but will also be sustained through legislations that will pass to ensure that we put some money in the budget for the church, irrespective of our political affiliation, knowing that Lutheran hospitals in Zozo, in Banga are catering to non-political people. I mean, the church is catering to people irrespective of their political affiliation. So the question you raise is a very critical question that would now mean, like Bishop Patmo has, in fact, that's one of the issues he raised when it comes to the lawmakers becoming members of the Aliyah board. The University of Liberia, the Lutheran University board. He has said, "Look, let's wait until the president seats and takes seat, and the legislature is properly seated. Then we now call a meeting of Lutheran lawmakers to begin to bring to their attention the seriousness of some of the socio-economic challenges the church faces for their possible enactment of law through lobbying with their colleagues."
That's very much important, and thank you very much, McCay, for that response. What I want to say in closing on this topic of the total disaster, I just want to say thank you to the LCL and the services the church is providing to all people of Liberia. And we will continue to pray that God will continue to guide the church as you continue to console the bereaved families and pray for the victims to recover as well. So I just want to shift the pendulum right now to other things and give you the opportunity as the BA to the bishop to go over some of your success story of 2023 as we're about to go into the new year. Maybe you want to share with the audience some of your success stories and some of the challenges that you are facing, and what are the plans going into the new year?
Thank you. You will recall that last week, Bishop Patmo, consistent with his promised during the campaign to synchronize the curriculum of the Sunday school so that we have a uniform Sunday school, launched the uniform curriculum of the Lutheran Church in Liberia Sunday School. So we now have a curriculum that will be used and throughout the LCL. That was a promise that he made, and that particular day when he launched the curriculum, it was in fulfillment of that promise. There's a success story in fulfillment of that promise. In terms of the conventional mandate to ensure that the Lutheran ministers will meet and decide to come up with 2 candidates so that we can minimize election conflict in the church. That is already in progress. The Board of Ministry, Theology, and Evangelism, including the Pastoral Fellowship headed by Reverend A. Jumeni Wiki, have taken on that. Policies have been put into place and regarding how we can ensure that the process leading to the selection of 2 candidates for the bishopric election will be done transparently with people involved in it to ensure that things are done properly. So that is going on. In terms of another mandate of the convention, or something that was not necessarily in the convention, but to have a policy-guided administration, Bishop Patmo has ensured that the constitutional mandate of the Board of Ministry, Theology, and Evangelism, our Lutheran Church in Liberia Constitution, to develop policies and code of conduct that will govern all Lutherans. That board, that policy-making body has been established, and it has started receiving policies from all of our institution organizations, the programs, so that they will be synchronized and brought together into a policy manual that will be known as the LCL, whatever name the convention will want to give to it. That will be the decision of the convention. That is already ongoing. Regarding the governance, good governance, of course, unless you decide to be governed by principles or constitution, you put your own future in danger. So one of the convention mandate was also that we should begin the process of revising the Lutheran Church in Liberia Constitution. A constitution committee has already been established. It is headed by Councillor Lopu Dugba, and that committee has already placed done some revisions, and those revisions have been placed into documents and sent all across the country to Lutheran churches. I personally delivered the Bapolu last week to the pastor and his people, so that we have a bottom-top approach, that the people get involved in it, so that it's not coming from both people alone. We have people go to the villages and towns and to explain to the people how they want this church to be governed. So that is a success story. So then there is the issue of, African bishops. We are Africans, given our extended family system. We're not nuclear in our family system. So because of our extended family system, we have realized that the good dream to transform the current bishop residence into an income generation project to raise money for the church has now made it impossible for it to continue to be the bishopric residence. So Bishop Patmo has met with the Monrovia district deans and other deans from across the country, Lutheran church-wise, but also prominent citizens, to sell the vision of building a Lutheran church in Liberia bishopric compound in Fendel. That idea has been bought. The process is ongoing. And sooner or later, we have the architectural design, and all of those things will be there. We have taken steps towards the establishment of the bishopric residence, LCL bishopric residence in Fendel. That is a success story. Regarding agriculture, Bishop Patmo was in. Now I keep saying Bishop Patmo, because when we meet as a team and decide, then the bishop is the implementer of those decisions. That is why you keep hearing me saying Bishop Patmo, Bishop Patmo. It's not a one-man show, but by our doctrine, especially the episcopal nature of the church, that we have an elected bishop who is the final decision maker. So we meet as a people as senior staff, the executive council, and will take on these decisions. And then the bishop now goes to implement that. So there is already a coffee farm project going on in Hemel that is regarded as the bishop's coffee farm project, and that is intended for agriculture, for sustainability. In Blita, we carry over 2,500 oil palm ceiling. According to Deacon Jerry Camon, who is in charge of that parish, the oil palm is doing pretty well. In fact, they have decided to locate 10 acres of land so that they can begin transplanting. So there is success in the history of in terms of agriculture, as the bishop promised, as a way of sustaining the church. Or education. Bishop Padmo was in Bapulu, and he came back from there and talked to the Fosters, who have in principle agreed to build a high school in Bobolu. And so he asked me to go there and inform the people about the decision of the Fosters in principle to build a high school. Their role now is, as they have agreed, is to mold bricks and to gather locally produced materials that they can produce at the local level, so that those that we cannot produce at the local level will not be supplied by the Fosters. This is in the making. So that's a success story. So we are going far, but it's an attitudinal problem. It's an issue of trying to change minds and change people's attitude towards knowing that the church cannot continue to beg. You are in the U.S. You helped during the COVID-19. You continue to put money into Aliyah work. That is why all of us were redeemed by Christ and placed in different parts of the world, so that we can each impact the word as God helps us. But at home, Bishop Padmo has said that he believes in the question that God asked Moses, "What do you have in your hands?" So his philosophy is, don't go asking people with an empty hand. You have motivational gifts. There must be something in your hand that you're asking people so that they can add on to help the church move forward in terms of this sustainability. So we've talked about governance in terms of the policy development as is provided for under the LCL Constitution. We're talking about pastors coming together, electing two persons so that we can minimize the conflict in electoral conflict in the church. We have talked about education, where the Fosters will sooner or later, by the grace of God, and they tie the effort of the people in Bobolo be a high school. We have talked about the launching of the Sunday school so that we have a synchronized curriculum, which the bishop has already done. So those are success stories that we are moving into 2024 with. Regarding challenges, we see challenges as opportunities. We don't see them as scary. As we see them, when people mention them to us, we think they are scarecrows. Well, we think we can manage them. They are manageable. So we are moving with optimism. We see them as snakes on the road that they can't block us from going to our farms. We move them and ensure that we read the farm so the birds can't destroy the rice, so that we fight hunger. So those challenges will be transformed into opportunities. And that will first have to do with work. We're trying to impress upon our people that there's a difference between work and job. That work is to create value. Jesus came to create values. He opened eyes of the blind. So when you are motivated by the mentality of job, then you want money and you don't create value. So you leave a dirty environment. When you come now in a guest house, there has been complete change. You have seen some of the rooms have been tied up. Offices are now in there as a way of moving forward to Fender, so that we can have our new place. Come and see for yourself, and you will see that the administration is creating values. So it's guided by a work mentality and not a job mentality. This is a success story that we are moving with, and our challenges are for us an opportunity to transform, to move forward.
Thank you, BA, and I like the way you answer the question of the challenges, looking at it as an opportunity to improve and move ahead. That's very much important, and I really appreciate you giving us an overview of some of the success stories and some of the things that the bishop and his team are doing right now to improve the well-being of the church. And I know that your team took over the LCL, and the LCL is in the red right now when it comes to financial status. The LCL is in the red, and I really appreciate you talking about the sustainability projects that the bishop is engaged with right now in order to mitigate some of these liabilities that we have on foreign partners in order to sustain our church locally. But one thing I want to ask you about, in order to, I know our character has been on the line as well when it comes to the accountability within the LCL, and some of our partners got us in the red as well when it comes to being transparent and accountable for fundings. And we have this case where two young people or two employees of the LCL are currently facing or are in are, are not guilty, but in a legal process. Of stealing from the LCL. So can you just tell us exactly what is the status of this case? Because for me, I believe that this case is a time bomb for your administration. The way you will handle this case will bring credibility to your fight against corruption within the church and to foster accountability within the church. And the way you will handle it will also reflect how you are serious about fighting corruption. So can you just tell us exactly what your administration has been doing in order to make sure that justice is being done and the money stolen, and how you intend for these folks to account for it?
Well, thank you very much. Bishop Patmo came to power on the mantra of accountability, integrity, and transparency. And he remains committed to that. We remain committed to that. The church remains committed to that. And that is part of the challenge that we are faced with, because the tradition is the money belongs to God. You can use it the way you want to use it and get away with it. But we are saying no. Is for example, is Wole Kobo's money, is Elijah's money, is Dr. Dennis's money. They are working. Is Deda's money, is Madia's money. These people are working in America. They're not money, there's no money tree. So if they assist us with, if they count their dimes and save their pennies and help us, we cannot just abuse their funds. So we must be accountable. So anybody, including the bishop's assistant, who mismanages fund will account for the fund or will be in prison. The question is, what is happening to the money? I'm pleased to inform you that the two gentlemen had pleaded guilty to theft and forgery on Thursday in front of the city court in Monrovia. And by Thursday this week, we're going to be meeting so that they will sentence them. Now the question is, do we want them sentenced and placed behind bars in terms of the law so that they can serve the sentences, or do we want to enter into a plea bargain that they will pay this money? That is where we are. But we have ensured that justice is served. The intent is not to punish them. The intent of the law is to serve justice. You know what it means to take 52,000 United States dollars of partners and local and international partners' fund and put it in your pocket. You know, how that money would have bought so many cartons of drugs for Phoebe or for Current Hospital. But they deprived the people of those funds through doing forgery and theft. And they were placed before the court, and they have pleaded before the judge on Thursday that they are guilty for theft and forgery. So we are serious, and sooner or later, the papers will carry that these two criminals have been indicted, they've been busted and indicted, and have been charged, and they have confessed to crime. So the church is not grace. I have said to people who think Martin Luther's theology of grace is what we can rely on. But when you read John 1:14, it says that Jesus is full of grace and truth. So if you have grace that is not inspired by, is not balanced by truth, is destructive. And if you have truth that is not balanced by grace, it is deceptive. So we are ensuring that we don't take a power source and divide Jesus into half, and then put one side called grace on the other side to mean anarchy, that you can just come in the chair and rob people and get away with it. But we also have truth on the other side. He who said thou shalt not steal cannot contradict himself to say let the rules go free. There must be law. You must go to court. You must vindicate yourself through a competent court, or through a court of competence jurisdiction. This is what we have done. We remain committed to that. I'm pleased to inform you that the chief accountant, who was Michelle Itopa, and the cashier Otania Newman, and forgery in a tune of 52,000 United States dollars, and we'll be meeting on Thursday. so that the sentencing will be done. As to whether we are going to let them go free or want them to really bear the penalty so that McCay himself will not allow Wole Kobe to say, you put the two boys in jail, McCay has stolen money, why is he passing around free? So all of us will be aware that we have set the precedent, and it doesn't matter who gets involved, your wings will be clipped by the law.
No matter who gets involved, your wings will be clipped. And Reverend, listen, I was just saying to myself right now, today is the 31st of December. We've long been wishing for you to be on the show. You are here today. We know today is the Bishop's hour, but we want you to please be here more often.
You have to be a little bit audible. I'm not getting you.
No, I was saying that we want you to please be here more often. Be here more often, Reverend. We want you to please be here more often. Are you hearing me now?
Yes, I hear you want me to be here more often, but I will only come based on the special dispensation of the bishop. I am only here because I have that special dispensation. No, I do not appear anywhere I don't have authority to be and don't have the authority to see the things I say.
No, he did. He did inform us when he was in Senegal. He told us to reach out to you and let you know that he gave you blessings, and I believe that you spoke with him and he gave you the authorization. But on some other issues, sometimes we want you to be here. But I have a few questions. And I want to say thank you for providing updates on the legal case with our brothers there, Michelle Toba and Otamio. Two questions, Reverend. Two questions. One has to do with the the demolition exercise that took place recently. What actually led to that? Like you said earlier, that it is a teamwork, okay, and the team decides, and the captain, which is the bishop implements. So how did we arrive at this point that the demolition carried out? And can you speak to the process, please? And then two, what is the status of the inquiry team? I would say the inquiry team led by Councillor Howard, I think Wendell Howard, right? Elijah, am I correct? Wendell Gardner, right? Wendell Gardner.
Sandra, you're talking about Sandra Howard.
Sandra Howard. Yes, because on this show we brought up there was a documentation from the former treasurer. The former treasurer was she had her legal team that wrote the church. And so what is the status on that? I know we got a status on the brothers who have pleaded guilty, okay? And we want to know what is the status on the inquiry from Sandra Howard's team, and also if you can speak briefly on the letter, the communication from the former treasurer, please.
Thank you. Process leading to the demolition. You are referring to the HIV and AIDS headquarters and the LGS headquarters.
Correct. Yes. Yeah.
The challenge that we want to transform into opportunity is what I've told people most of the time, that they should get engaged in knowledge activism. Unless you are informed by knowledge, your zeal will be informed by ignorance, and you mislead a lot of people. The church has a structure. The structure is the convention, the highest legislative decision-making body. Next to the convention is the executive council, which acts in between convention and reports its action to the convention, but also implements convention resolutions. So on the executive council, you have, I refer to the executive council as the national legislature of the LCL. It has in there the men representative, the women representative, the youth representative, the district representatives, two of them, male and female. So the executive council's decision is based on a majority vote or a consensus. So the bishop makes a case. You have transformed the LCL traditional bishopric residence to an income generating project. Beautiful. But you have no place, you didn't have any prior plan to have a bishopric residence that will commensurate with the capacity and structural and architectural capacity of the previous one you transformed. So how do we handle this? It's not just saying, oh, we have one building across the road there for the new bishop to stay in. The question is, can it match the structural design and the capacity of the previous building? The answer is no, it couldn't measure to that. So then the executive council met and took a decision and voted to allow the transfer from the LCL 13th Street compound of the the desired bishopric compound that will be constructed on 2 acres of land that the Germans bought for the Michbury Partnership Committee. So structurally, it is the decision of the executive council. It is not Bishop Patmo's decision. I've heard these queries in other places, and unfortunately, some of our friends who go to these executive council meetings take the thing for fun. When I said to them, we didn't come here as ministers to wear white gown and take people for granted here. This is not a Sunday place where we wear white gown and stand up and get free money, and they got angry. Oh, you say we're getting free money. I say, well, that's my perspective. But here at the executive council, we are discussing issues. You are representing the men. You are representing the women. You are representing the young people. If your votes are not going to be critically informed and we vote there, you cannot mislead people. You can't come against the bishop. Then you need, you need knowledge activism. You can't be in this church and you don't know how it functions. And then you go there, you take people for granted. You think with the Sunday school business we are on here. We're talking about the future from now on. We're talking about moving this church forward. We're talking about a compound that will have a chapel. We're talking about a compound that will have a mini library. We're talking about a compound that will have missionary lodging places. We're talking about a compound that will have a bishop. We're talking about a complex. A complex. That we're not talking about something around here. We're talking about a 21st century complex for you. I have said, you don't know, the theologians are in the US, they're in Germany, they're in Africa studying. They will come and become bishops. You cannot constrain them to live the way you want to live. So we must begin now to rethink critically. So we went to the executive council and the bishop made this case. All of the members of the executive council voted unanimously. There might have been the normal strategy that we have been applying in the LCL. Oh, a church business, when they talk, nothing is going to come out of it. So, let's just agree. But this is not the group you're dealing with. We are a talk and do group. So you don't take us for granted. Don't be voting and taking for granted that you get voting and we're not going to act. You'll be making the greatest mistake. So we came back and HIV and AIDS has now moved. They are here. Go and see Geneva. They've done a very good work there. I think they put gates on the side there to ensure the confidentiality of the would-be survivors of HIV and AIDS for confidentiality purposes. If you go there, it's a very nice place. LDS has moved in. Some part of the guest house, they have the executive director offices. Everything has been done. We have put aside some of the anger. I know people will feel a little bit bad. But if you even went to the place and looked at the structure, they were already cracking. So when it comes to the process went through the judicial process as far as the LCA is concerned, in terms of the role of the executive council, that decision has been made and will be reported to the convention. As to whether the convention will want to accept it or not, when we reach to that bridge, we will cross it. But we went through the judicial process as the church is concerned. Now to the second question. Judicial processes are not an overnight event. We are doing something that has not been done in the LCL. If Willie Kobe got vexed and said, Pastor McCay, you are a rogue, he's not supposed to be saying that to me. But if I behave as a rogue...
Let me interrupt you a little bit. Before I lost my thought on this. I have a question about the demolition of the HIV and the LDL's offices. So what's the plan? What's the plan after you demolish the houses over there? What's the plan you have what are you going to do with the land over there? What's the plan?
Oh, okay, that's a good question. The land will be leased to a firm that will uh, ensure the construction of the compound, or we will give the construction of the compound to another firm to do so. If you want to bid for it from the US, you are welcome. You can bid for it. If you win the bid, we'll give you your engineers the right to construct there. So it will be given to a firm to construct houses there that will be for income generation, so that the money that will come from there will be used to sustain the church, but it will also be used for the construction of the bishopric compound.
Is it like you're going to lease it or you're going to sell it?
We're not going to sell it. It's going to be leased.
Okay. All right. Thank you. You can go ahead.
So let me add a follow up on that too. Sorry, Elijah. Reverend, before you continue, let me add a follow up on that. So, how many years is that portion leased for? So, what I'm understanding is the firm is going to build some dwelling, units on there, and it will be leased for a certain number of time. Then after that, will they be turning the property over to our church in the lease agreement?
Absolutely. I have to look at the lease agreement so that I don't give you information that might not be fact, that might not tally with what is in the document. It's a legal document, so I don't have it with me, so I can't see the exact number of years. But there is indeed a cutoff point.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, then you can. No, then you can proceed. Thank you. You can proceed.
Okay, so I started saying judicial processes are not processes that you run with. They border on people's reputation. They border on people's character. So you don't want to run to the extent that you have a legal misstep and then it comes back to haunt you. You're dealing with pastors. You have had, and from our personal objective perspective, you have had Reverend Pakla serving there. You had Reverend P serving there. You have Reverend Baba Daniel Wule serving there. So the question of asset verification has to cut across. We have to first have a legal cutoff point as far back as where do we want to stop. So these are all legal questions that have been asked, but it also has to take into consideration that these people were lieutenants working under the Episcopal head of the church, who was Dr. Jensen at the time. Honor Harris is dead and gone. May his soul rest in perfect peace. But government is continuity. So Pakla served Honor Jensen. Jensen appointed pay rather, and then Pakla. Now, then you had Daniel. So the appointing under the law, the appointing authority must have some responsibility to bear in the characters he appointed, even though crime is not transferable. But you also will imagine that Bishop Jensen will want to fight back, as he already started doing. He wrote back and is even trying to say Bishop Padmo wanted to get at him and the rest of that. You can understand the people's perspective on what accountability is. For example, in our new government that is coming, President Weah has already started saying audit is witch hunting. And so you can imagine, this is unprecedented in the Lutheran Church in Liberia. Very unprecedented. Just come and serve and go. Whatever you carry to your farm is for you. Now you have a group of guys coming and saying, no, we're not going to go this way. You have some cows on that farm. You have some sheep there. You have some goats there. We want to know what happened to the hogs. So of course you can understand that these are not battles that the system will fight back. So the system is fighting back, but we are also carefully analyzing from a judicial point of view. We could use the court. We could go to the court and say, look, give us a sheriff to go to LTR and ensure that we account for what is visibly there and take records of this to the court, and the court turn them over to us. And those that we think are not there, we go after those who we believe should be holding them. But it requires some care. You don't want to do more danger and harm to the church in your quest for justice. Justice is to bring peace and harmony. It shouldn't. The end of justice is not to bring chaos and destruction. It is to bring peace. Is to bring harmony. Is to let people see that what they have taken has deprived the other people of their right to that same thing that they all have collective and right to. So the question of Anthony Sandra's asset verification process is not halted because of the former treasurer wrote. She knows very well that legal luminaries will say, as the financial, as the treasurer, but as the custodian of our resources, of our properties, as the controller, you are legally held liable to account for your honor people. She knows that. She knows the law. Responded, they call it superior respondent under the law. What your junior officers do, if I should mess up the person working under my supervision, I can't say I'm not responsible. If I'm supposed to direct his or her activities and they're doing something that borders on my responsibility, I can't say I'm not responsible. She knows that very well. But again, they confessed that she was not a part of it. They intentionally took a loophole that they were not calling back to verify what you call payrolls. They were only calling to verify checks. And when they realized that that was not being done in terms of the payrolls, they decided that they would rob us and the rest of that. So others on LTR would probably, this traditional thing, Willie Kobe or our last dinner is the Bishop. Christmas is coming. I'm in Babulu in farm with the rubber farm. I can sell rubber and buy him one pickup. That gives me a latitude to steal as more. But in this case, I'm just saying, for example,
Right.
But in this case, we are saying you have criminal liability. Your responsibility is not to be selling things and giving them to people. They have their salaries. You have your salary. You are held liable for your stewardship responsibility. So we are going gradually. We are studying the situation so that we don't create more chaos and we have corporate social responsibility, that we don't destroy the church in our zeal to ensure justice. So we are going cleverly but legally, watching the situation and investigating. We'll get there. Just as how the guys have confessed, somebody will confess that they took a hog and give it to somebody, or they have some kind of collar sitting down somewhere that somebody making a personal farm with. Whether we take that farm or not, that will be in the future.
Thank you so much, Reverend. And like you said, that it's often said, whatever the company does, the company commander is responsible. So whatever transaction that went on from the financial transaction, what legal proceeding that may be, the treasurer will be asked questions as well, because the company commander is always responsible for whatever the company does. I just want to add a follow-up question, Reverend, and we also have a question in the queue from Brother Sonny Joe. We're going to screen that on the screen. You will see it. I want to ask this question quickly. We sometimes we understood that Bishop went to this international Lutheran gathering, Lukwa, and he was charged with the responsibility. LCL was charged with the responsibility to repay some money. What is the status like? Have we paid that money? That's one. Two, the follow-up to that is that the processes in collecting the money. Okay, when the announcement was put up by the GS, we saw that personal accounts or personal collection methods were used instead of using the church's account. We saw that in particular the current women president, her phone number was in the document as person to collect the money, and this is a church money that we were collecting. So do you consider that as a mishap that was carried out, that the church was collecting funds and using a personal account?
No, I don't consider that as a mishap. The church has 3 auxiliaries: men, women, and youth. These are constitutionally established auxiliaries. And in terms of coordination purposes, it is only appropriate, legally appropriate, that these auxiliaries will coordinate the collection of these funds and report them to the treasurer. So this is the context in which such collections were made in line with the structure of the church. So I wouldn't call them a mishap. Up to up to this press time we are talking, we have not received any information that funds paid had not been delivered. So we like to congratulate them for their transparency. Relative to the question whether we've paid that money, yes, the 10,009, pretty close to $10,000 has been paid by the Padmo administration.
Reverend, a follow up again. A follow up to that. There were two methods of collection in there. I mentioned one, the current national women president, and also another person's account was placed in there. So if you are talking about like the church being divided in form of men, women, and youth, I did not recall seeing the youth representative collection method in there. That's one. Two, I also saw that the church, like the women were asked, the men were asked, the youth, was asked, and also departments were also asked. So I think departments should have collected theirs on their own and submitted that to the treasurer. Instead, only these two methods of collections were in there. So again, I still go back to this question. Was it a mishap that, everything be directed to the central office? I think the church should have her own account that any donation goes there for accountability purpose rather than using a personal account. I'm not saying it to say that the those account numbers that were there, they might have, or they will have, like, taking some of the money that were donated. But I'm just saying that for the sake that this is an institution of money, it should be done through the institution, not an individual. That's what the question is, Reverend.
Yeah, I do follow the question, but like I said, we do have auxiliaries, men, women, and youth, and it's quite a different thing if a person who is heading an auxiliary does not take seriously his or her responsibility, and quite another thing if that person takes his or her responsibility seriously. That would be the issue you are raising. But to address the issue directly, the church has decided to ensure that it has a registered mobile money account to prevent individuals from using their personal accounts to collect money. That has been seriously noted. In fact, somebody called the other day from the US to ask Bishop Patmo whether he was in line with certain persons' requests from the US, and the bishop said no. And so we have to say to these guys, we want to caution you that our church is structured, that the bishop approves all communication. You have Dede, who has been appointed by the executive council as youth advocate. You have Dr. Anderson, you have Madie. So if you want to do some level of collection, you need to coordinate with these people, and the bishop has to approve that document. So again, your question is noted, and I can assure you that before we go to the next quarter end, you will have an official LCL mobile money account that all funds that will be requested by the church will be directed to the church through. So what your question is noted. We have started acting on that. We took some notices. Some of our friends don't want to be accountable in the sense that they don't want to say, I'm the head, pay this money. They think everything should be kind of like a liberal. Just do what you want to do, and that's the way you can make friends. But your question is very much in place. We took note of that, and right now the treasurer is working on that. I can assure you before the next quarter ends, you will have an LCL or mobile money account announced.
Thank you. So
Thank you. Let me make a follow-up
go ahead on that, Elijah. And this is the question from Brother Sonny George. So after Elijah's question, then this is the question from Sonny George.
Reverend, for me, even though the Patmos administration has worked hard to remedy the situation with the international partners, I'm really interested in why we had this gap in our payment and updating our membership with these partners, letting the church to be silenced at the meeting before we can pay this money. I'm interested in why it happened, why we allow it to happen. So I'm interested in the history behind that.
I didn't get the question clearly.
My question is, I'm interested in why we have to allow the LCL to be silent at a meeting before we can pay our quota to these international bodies that we are part of. So I'm interested in what was the cause, why we allowed this to happen.
Um, Again, when you take over any leadership, you assume the responsibilities of fixing and moving ahead. So you don't want to shift blame. You want to solve the challenges. You want to transform challenges into opportunities. So I have not attended any of those meetings where the church was silenced. But in the case that the church were to be silent, then it was just a challenge that was transformed into opportunity to pay that money which we have paid to Lucas in the tune of almost 10,000 US dollars. And we are determined not to allow that to happen. But more than that, it is a financial situation that we all have. We don't have the resources. And there is somehow this belief that we should continue to wait for money to come from out before we can move. So when you even tell parishes that they should make contribution, it's like, these are Egyptians who have come to power. You know what I mean? Egyptians were people who were suppressing God's people in Egypt. These are slave masters, taskmasters, who have come here. Why are they asking us for money? But we are saying to them, no, we're not taskmasters. In fact, we are liberators. That's why we want to get you out of Egypt, out of the dependency. So you are, kind of thinking that you're thinking like Pharaoh. The spirit of Pharaoh may be on some people. They want to come after us and pull us back into bondage. And we are saying, no, we are moving forward. So we are not taskmasters. We are, in fact, liberators trying to get you across the Red Sea to a promised land of self-sustainability, where what you have in your hand, you can show to people and they add some to it. Where in the additional philosophical administrative perspective, 1 + 1, and not you always 0 + 1, 0 + 1. You always be at 1. But if you have 1 and went to somebody, the other one you have 2. If you have 2, the other one you have 3. So the question of why we were silent, it's just normal administrative thing, the rules of the game. If you don't pay your quota, you go to convention, you're not going to vote. You can talk, but you won't vote. Those are just normal organizational rules. And obviously, every institution has rules. And if you become a member of those organizations, you are constrained by law to abide by those rules. But whatever the case was, it was a learning curve for all of us. And we transformed those challenges into opportunities. We've paid the $10,000 to Lukwa. And I was at the All Africa Conference of Churches. They waived all the debts of all the churches as bad debts. And they put all of the churches in categories A, B, and C. And I think ours would be something like $250 US annually to pay to the All Africa Conference of Churches. So again, if we don't pay that, then we're not going to talk. It's just simple matter.
All right. You can go ahead and address Brother Sonny George's question.
Yeah, so I see his question. The question says, how is the church using the THRP? The question about what means. There's a church using the to help the traumatic situation in Toyota. It's fresh. It's a fresh wound. So it requires the guys in the trauma healing and reconciliation to first collect their data and to see the degree of wounds and to craft together the intervention strategies. So how, when they get back from work, you appreciate the fact that we are on vacation. Bishop Patmore has called all of us to return to work on Tuesday, and people are watching the social media. So you have professionals like Reverend Nushen, who is, I'm very sure, already watching the situation. He may have his guys in the field, and they are working their strategies. As a former THRP man, I know the background from which you come, and you appreciate the fact that intervention requires data collection and proper strategies. And I think that is what these guys are working on.
Reverend will know that you are all set and prepared, because we see that you are in your color, you're getting prepared for your watch night service. We will give you the opportunity to, we'll be wrapping up very shortly. We don't want to hold you more than this time, but again, on behalf of the team, just know that every last Sunday is Bishop's Hour, and we will want you to, with the blessing of the Bishop, if you can return on some of the Sundays. But we will speak with Bishop to that. We know that because of his busy schedule, he's going to allow you to appear on some of the subsequent programs. But quickly, we just want to recognize some of our viewers. Then we're going to give you the time for closing comments. All right. So we want to say again, our sister Marlene Mulva, I want to say thank you very much for watching. Our brother Sonny George, and our sister Beatrice Tay. Beatrice Tay, and this is my own aunt Hawa Kuyate from St. Matthews. This is St. Matthews, Elijah, this is St. Matthews.
My hands are up. I know.
This is St. Peter's. This is St. Peter Jean B. Woos. That's your own pop.
He's watching.
I see him with his cap on, always wearing a cap.
Yeah.
He's in Rhode Island.
I know. But Tati Colley, he says, hi, Reverend McCay.
Hey, Tati, how are you?
Tati Colley.
Tati is in Minnesota. We live in the same community in Woodbury as well.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
We need to get him on board, my man Aliyah.
No, that's a lady. Tati is a lady.
Oh, Sis Tati. Okay, we need to get her on board. Yeah, how you doing, Sis Tati? And our president, Brother Jerome Jala, he's following from the core city of
Germany.
Germany. So again, we want to. My man, Happy New Year.
Small lion.
I think he might be in the New Year already.
Yeah. Yeah, but Reverend, again, want to say thank you so much. Thank you for being here with us tonight. And you had to take this time to be with us and provide updates. So we're gonna give you the time for your usually when a pastor appears on our show, we like to give you the last word to bless us with the benediction. So but Elijah will go, then I will go after, then you will give your closing comment, and then you will bless us this evening.
Thank you, Willie, and also thank you, Reverend McCay, for making up your time to be on the show today. I know it wasn't easy technologically to get on, but as God could have it, you were able to find your way through.
The man got drone. Don't tell him technologically. He got drone. This man got drone. He's tech savvy.
I know. There are people they call the BBC. Those are people that are born before computer.
I'm one of them.
Trouble with technology. Well, however, whatever the case might be, we are happy that you were able to make your way on the show, and thank you for the information that you've provided here tonight. That was very much helpful for us and for the listening audience. And we look forward to having more conversation of such with you, where we can provide updates on situations that are happening within the LCL, and just to make people aware that the leadership is not sleeping, the leadership is working to make sure that the church is on top of all of her games and making sure that they're not caught unaware of a situation happening within the church. So as the MLC talk, we appreciate you and we appreciate our audience. We look forward to talking to all of you next Sunday. Thank you.
Again, I want to follow with my brother Elijah to say thank you to all of our viewers. All of our viewers want to say Happy New Year to you. If you have already seen the New Year, especially brother Jerome Jala, we have our viewers there in India, our partners there in Australia, we want to say, and also our partner there in Lusaka, Zambia, want to say Happy New Year to you all. And folks, as we've promised, since we came back on the air after the elections, we've told you that even if there's no guest, we're going to have a roundtable conversation. MLC Talk is going to remain and it's going to stay. I want to thank all of you for keeping in tune, and to all of our colleagues who could not be here with us tonight, Brother Abel Lewelly, Brother Josiah Jokai, the Ambassador Jerry Tableau, our only sister, Couple Sele, and the only Reverend on our team, the Reverend Zesta Lila Yakwazo, and from myself and my brother Elijah Zina, I want to wish every one of you a happy New Year. Reverend, again, want to say thank you so much for being here, and we want to say please, we want to see you more often on MLC Talk. Thank you so much.
Thank you for the opportunity of having me. Like I said to you, I will only appear when I have the responsibility to do so, and that has to come from the bishop. Um, and so I'm happy to be here. But let me say that we need to put all hands on deck. The challenges are here to be transformed into opportunities. It will hurt. Developments don't come without challenges. They don't come without pain. We are prepared for these pains. Bishop Padmo is committed to the task of accountability, integrity, and transparency, and they've already begun to be realized in terms of the synchronized Sunday school curriculum, in terms of the gentleman confession to theft and forgery, in terms of the agriculture project across the country in Blita, Bapulu County, in terms of education, that the Fosters have agreed to place a high school in Bopulu. And we also appreciate you guys, especially Alias, for your tremendous contribution towards the university project. This is a Pepper Bush project. We want to see it up. You can come downtown and teach. You can be adjunct professors. You can come to teach, so that we too, 13 years younger than this country, can start to confer degrees on people rather than just always being down there in Turuta teaching Pele and Loma when our own children are not even willing to read the Pele Bible. So this is a challenge that Bishop Padmo is taking head on. Again, like I said, the bishop wants to inform all of you that the tragedy in Turuta is a human tragedy, is emotionally challenging, is appalling, and is calling on all Lutherans in the diaspora to join hands together to see how we can intervene psychosocially, financially, to providing hope for some of the guys whose families have been affected. So we thank you for the opportunity, and I'm happy that I could be in these exchanges by the special dispensation of the bishop. Receive the blessing. The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. The Lord lift his countenance upon you and give you peace. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.